Hello everyone, Jiggy Wiggy here. Today I thought I would do something a little bit different from what I normally do, and that's a video game showcase video, where I show off some of the games and merchandise that I have from a particular video game series. I would like to start off with one of my favorite video game series, Star Fox. I have a Fox amiibo right here, but I'll get to him later in more detail. For now, let's start with the games. First up, we have Star Fox on the Super Nintendo. This is the very first game in the series, and for those of you who are in the know, this case is not the case that the game originally comes in. And that's because Super Nintendo boxes are very, very hard to come by. Back in the day, the cartridges were enough for people, and the boxes seemed kind of useless, so a lot of people threw them away. Now they're very valuable and hard to come by. So, instead, I elected to get a universal game case. And these things you can buy online, and let me open this up here. They hold Super Nintendo games like this one, like you can see right here. And they also have other prongs for Nintendo 64 and Genesis games. So it's great for a retro game collector who doesn't want to spend all the money for authentic game cases, but they want to have a nice look for their collections. So the cover that is printed on here, I actually printed off from thecoverproject.net, and it's a website where people upload and Photoshop their own covers. So for the Star Fox one, I actually Photoshopped it myself because the one that was already uploaded had a picture like this one, and I didn't quite like it very much, so I elected to Photoshop one with this imagery in it instead. The imagery of them all four standing right there has become kind of a staple in the series, and it started right here, so I wanted to capture that in my cover. But as for the game itself, it's very, very revolutionary for its time. It utilized 3D graphics, and it was one of the very, very first games, especially on consoles, to do so. They used a Super FX chip, which I think is listed on the back here. They advertise the technology. But they're very primitive by today's standards, but back then it was a very, very big deal, especially on the Super Nintendo. 3D graphics never really got fully used until the Nintendo 64's era. As for the gameplay, it's a railway shooter where you lead a team of 4 starfighters against Andross's army. This is really the type of story that is used in the rest of the series, and it starts here, and it's kind of a tradition. But it's very, very interesting. You have pilots that respond to you based on your actions, and a lot of the gameplay traditions started here as well when it comes to saving your teammates from enemy fire, or if you steal one of the ships that they're trying to shoot down, they yell at you. It's a fun experience to see where everything else in the series evolved from. Before I move on to the next game, I'll show a little poster that I printed out here. Now, I had this in my college dorm hanging up, and I'm not entirely sure where I got it, but it's got this puppety look that the original cover has. I think they advertised the game using puppets. And so I printed this off and I crumbled it up to give it an old poster feeling. Next up in the series, we have Star Fox 64 on the Nintendo 64. Now, this one is very near and dear to my heart. This is the first Star Fox that I ever played, and I think it's my favorite one. I think there's a bit of a bias there with nostalgia and all that, but even objectively, this game is very, very solid. Let's open this up here. This is what the cartridge looks like. So this game has very, very tight controls. Your R-Wing, which is the starfighter that you pilot, is very, very responsive. It's very fast, very precise. It moves exactly how you want it to, when you want it to. So I think I can say with confidence that this is probably the best controls that I've ever felt in any video game ever. As for the gameplay, it's a railway shooter just like the SNES version, and there are so many different branching pathways that you can take. Each playthrough takes about an hour to complete, but there are so many different ways that you can go about the story that every single playthrough is different. And it's designed in a way that you get better each time you play, and first you go through the easy route, but at every turn you're tested to see if you're good enough to move on to the more difficult pathway. So as you play through multiple times, you start branching off into the harder missions, and until you can finally get to the point where you do every hard mission in sequence in one playthrough. This kind of game design is just brilliant to me. The voice acting is excellent, the characters are memorable. Now, as for this cover, I actually noticed this after I printed it off. This is another one from the coverproject.net, and I realized that one of the R-wings in the cover is a Star Fox Assault R-wing, and I was like, oh, well, that doesn't belong there. So I gotta reprint one or Photoshop it or something else so that it matches the other R-wings. So after Star Fox 64, there were, I believe, 3 other games: Star Fox Adventures, Star Fox Assault, and Star Fox Command. Now, I've played all these games, but I don't have them here with me today. I remember owning Star Fox Adventures and Assault, but I must have either lost them, loaned them out to friends, or sold them along the way. Now, these particular games are a bit off. People usually consider them to be the off years of Star Fox, where they really didn't have the original spirit of the games. I played them, they were okay. They were okay games on their own, but for Star Fox games, they left me wanting more. So, without diving too much into those games, let's just move on to the next one here. I have Star Fox 64 3D, and this is just a remake of the first Star Fox 64 on the Nintendo 3DS with some added controls and upgraded graphics. I actually don't have this game physically in its case, and that's because I mailed it over to my brother for his birthday. I know that he's a Star Fox fan himself, so I wanted to send him one. And this is the manual here. It's just like the old game. There's nothing really special about it. They redid the voice acting. They upgraded the graphics, like I said, and they added in a new versus mode. But other than that, it was really just a return to the series' roots. Now, the last game I have here today is Star Fox Zero for the Wii U. Now, this particular game came out very recently, and it's re-sparked my interest in the series because it's a callback to the classic ones. Let's open up this box here. This is actually a double game case. It comes with Star Fox Zero and Star Fox Guard. This is a game I actually haven't played yet. It's a little extra one. It's not, I don't think it's a full game. The plastic wrapping's still on it, but I'll be able to play it a little bit later. Now for Star Fox Zero, this game is very special because it recreates a lot of the cinematics, the story, and the feeling and spirit from Star Fox 64. Now, they utilize new controls in this one. They use the gyro controls with the Wii U gamepad, and you use it to aim better independently from your ship. Now, it's very interesting, but it's also very hard to get used to. I know the general consensus is that the gyro controls are very hard to get used to, which they are, but once you do get used to them, the payoff is great. It's a very fun game to play. It has a lot of branching pathways, just like 64 has. It has great dogfights with Star Wolf, the enemies to Star Fox. It has very nicely stylized graphics, very memorable dialogue, and yeah, it's really good. Now let's open this up here. You know, one thing they started doing with games as of late is they haven't been including instruction manuals. Well, it makes me a little sad because that's kind of a thing that all old games used to do, but admittedly, a lot of people never really looked at the instruction manuals, and they can get them online anyway. I would personally prefer one, but I kind of understand why they do it at the same time. So this game is very solid. I found a new spark with Star Fox because of this game, and so this one will hold a very special place in my heart in future years, I have a feeling. Now that I've gotten through the games, let's go through some of the amiibos. Now I have 2 amiibos. I believe there's only 2 for Star Fox right now. And this one's the Fox one. And this one is originally for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. And you use it in Super Smash Bros. On your gamepad, and it spawns a Fox character that is controlled by the AI. Now, amiibo fighters are a bit more complicated than normal AIs. You're able to teach them moves, and they learn a lot more than normal AIs do. So you can customize them, you can give them custom moves, you can raise their stats if you want to. So it's a very interesting thing, the amiibos on Super Smash Bros. So Star Fox Zero actually utilizes the amiibos as well. If you use a Fox amiibo like this one while playing Star Fox Zero, you can use the original R-Wings that are from this game. The original SNES version. The polygonal version of the R-Wing spawns, and you can pilot it instead, and you might be able to see some of the R-Wings on the back here. They're very simple, and they look a little bit out of place in the new Star Fox Zero, but it's a very nice callback, and they not only swap out the models of the R-Wings, but they also swap out the sound effects. You can hear the 16-bit pew pew pews when you fire your laser and stuff. It's neat. Now, the last thing I have to show is the other amiibo, and that's the Falco amiibo. So this one is the same as the Fox amiibo and how it came out with Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. And you utilize it to make a fighter, just like the Fox one, with the more adaptable AI and the customized moves and stats and all of that. And it also has usability in Star Fox Zero. When you use it in Star Fox Zero, you get a special version of the R-Wing that is colored black and red instead of white and blue. And this one has much stronger firepower, but it can get shot down much easier as well. So it's a very interesting thing to use because for people who want to go for high scores, it's a great thing to use, but you have to master the game first, or else you'll probably be shot down. Well, that's about all I have to show for my Star Fox collection. I know that it's not even a particularly big collection and nowhere near complete, but this series is very special to me and I absolutely love it, so I wanted to share some of the love with you here today. Thanks for listening.